Welcome to The Real World. My name is Cameron. Thank you so much for joining us on episode 106 of The Real World Podcast. We're talking all about director's cuts. Thank you so much for joining us here on The Real World Podcast. Make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified of all our videos. Today we're talking about director's cuts.
That's right.
So this is going to be a fun episode. I've got Carson joining me.
Carson's here.
He's back on
Carson's
the podcast.
in the house.
Really
Kay
excited.
is in the building.
Really excited to have him here, as always. So let's first just talk about what is a director's cut.
Well, every movie should be a director's cut.
Yes,
I mean,
point,
that's
good
I guess
point.
an opinion, but
Right.
A director's cut is essentially there's usually at least two cuts of a movie.
Sure.
There's the studio cut, which is also known as the theatrical cut.
Sure.
Which is what's released in the theaters.
Right.
It's the one everybody sees when it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And then depending on how well that's received and a bunch of other behind-the-scenes situations,
Sure.
the director will say, well, there's a little more I want in the movie.
Right.
There's a little stuff, like there's stuff I want to take out, stuff I didn't want in.
Mm-hmm.
Generally speaking, the director's cut is a more whole vision of what the director wants the movie to be.
Right. Yeah, it's his complete
For better or worse.
vision. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. That'll be a discussion we have. We might talk about some of the worst director's cuts, too.
Sure.
We're going to focus on our favorites, though. But yeah, a cut of the movie is any, final edit of the film that, like you said, eventually gets released. And that's the interesting thing about film is that it's such a collaborative process.
For sure.
And it's also an industry and a business. So
Right.
there's that whole element of the studio executives and producers all having their say in what the movie, that's released is.
Definitely.
So it's interesting and it's cool to have, physical media. It's why one of the main reasons I'm such a big fan of physical media is that we eventually get these other cuts of the movie that you didn't get to see in theaters.
Right.
That maybe does line up more with the director's vision. And so it's great. It's really cool to see all these different versions. I got to watch a lot this week.
Good.
So we're gonna do a draft as we have been doing lately.
That's right.
We're gonna draft our favorite director's cuts of all time. So you ready to get started?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. All right, folks. Here it is. Our favorite director's cuts of all time.
That's right. Remember, we're doing the draft.
We're doing the draft.
You get first pick.
I'm gonna take first pick. You had first pick last time.
That's right.
We're doing a top 10.
Okay.
So if I take some on his list, he's got to go down to a different one on his list.
I've got 5 backups, so
okay, I
we'll
think
see.
that'll
We'll
be
see.
enough.
Should have enough,
but maybe not. If not, you can select from our selection here.
That's right.
In front of
That's
us.
right. Yeah, a lot of these I haven't seen.
All these are director's cuts. These are all the director's cuts I own.
That's quite a bit.
It
takes up our entire desk here.
It's more than I thought I had.
It's a full frame of director's cuts.
Pretty cool. So, all right, my first pick obviously is going to be Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Interesting pick.
It's easily my favorite director's cut of all time.
I don't consider this a director's cut whatsoever.
Really? Oh, really? Interesting.
Because it had a completely separate release, and it's a completely different movie than the theatrical Justice League.
It's true.
It's Zack Snyder's Justice League. It's a totally different movie.
Right.
Different title.
Yeah.
Different story.
But I think a lot of these director's cuts, I mean, not this this is the most radical director's cut.
Absolutely. It's the most extreme example.
It's the most extreme example of a director's cut.
Definitely.
Because he was literally not involved in the editing process of the theatrical cut at all.
That's right.
So,
I agree that it's a fantastic director's cut.
Yeah.
I just don't consider it a director's cut at all at that point.
I got you.
Because it's so different.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I understand where you're coming from. I just feel like he was the director. He is credited as the director of the original theatrical release.
That's a pity.
It is. It's a sadness.
It's a blight on his filmography now.
I don't consider it his film. Like you. I don't consider it his film at all.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is taking the director's
He's never
cut.
seen that cut of the movie.
He's never seen it. Remember the story of when Christopher Nolan and his wife went and saw it?
Yes.
And they said, Zach can never see this. That was Nolan's quote.
That's great.
Zach can never see this.
That's right.
Because, it is so completely different. The tone is different. Mm-hmm. Literally, the aspect ratio is different.
Yeah.
The color grading is different.
Yeah. The story. The plot
story,
is totally different.
The story is quite different.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say the bare bones of it are there, right? The alien invasion is happening.
Saying the Justice League fight Steppenwolf.
Right, exactly. That's
the
where
extent.
It ends. Yeah, that's where it ends. This is a 4-hour cut, whereas the theatrical cut was 2 hours.
Yeah. And I would have been interested to see Zack Snyder's original theatrical cut.
Oh, sure.
His original 2-hour version.
2.5. 2.5.
2.5.
It would have at least been 2.5. Probably closer to 3.
It would have been interesting to see that cut.
Right.
Because watching this 4-hour cut is difficult. It's a big time commitment.
Oh,
to watch a 4-hour movie.
Sure.
I've only seen it twice.
Really?
I know you've seen it a lot more than that.
I've seen it. When it came out, I watched this movie every day for at least a week. It was, this to me, the anticipation. I haven't had that kind of level of anticipation for a movie ever, I don't think.
Yeah. More so than any Deadpool movie. This is a movie
more so than
that
any
the
movie.
fans have
Marvel, DC, Star Wars, anything. I mean, this was the movie I had wanted to see.
Yeah.
Since I was a kid.
Sure.
Kind of.
Sure.
And it's fantastic.
That's great. It's a great pick.
Alternate takes, the Steppenwolf redesign. Again, 2 hours of additional footage. It's literally so completely radically different.
It is.
And it's a perfect movie to me. It feels like it was made for me.
It's a great pick. It's an excellent pick. It's definitely top of the list.
So that's
definitely one that should be discussed when talking about any director's cuts. My number one pick, which I guess at this point in our draft is number 2.
No, it'd be your number 1. We have 2 separate lists going here. Your list and my list.
Okay.
So your number 1 pick.
My number 1 pick is Blade Runner: The Final Cut.
Okay. I knew this was going to come up. This is interesting. Controversial.
Now, I know.
So
Blade Runner has 5 different cuts?
5 cuts currently.
It's kind of amazing that.
Since you called it the final cut, I guess that is the last cut. So yeah, there are 5 cuts of Blade Runner available for people to watch. My favorite is not the final cut.
Is it the work print?
It's the work print.
Yeah.
The work print is what they showed to test audiences.
Yeah.
And it has everything I like about the movie in it, and nothing I don't like.
That's right.
I watched this movie 4 times yesterday.
This cut of the movie?
No.
Or you watched 4 alternate cuts. 4 cuts. Okay.
I watched 4 cuts yesterday. It was raining.
Sure.
It was a perfect day for Blade Runner.
That's right.
I knew I wanted to watch it. I turned on. I started with the work print.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah.
Now, just to what the work print is it's essentially unfinished special effects.
Correct. Yes, the test audience. So it's before all the effects were finished. So you got wires on the flying cars.
Yep.
You've got a few unfinished effects like that. Most of them are finished though. It's not like
the miniature shots and everything are all done.
Yeah, it's not like this is awful. I can't watch this.
Right,
it's like a couple shots where you can see some stuff, but
yeah, it's just it's not like ready to be released.
Correct. And the biggest difference is you want to get into Blade. This could be a Blade Runner podcast because the biggest difference
we could do a Blade Runner different cuts.
Yeah, video.
Whole talk.
We should.
But let's just talk about the final cut.
Okay, go ahead.
Because I know you love the work print. The work print has a lot of great stuff.
Yeah.
The reason the final cut's a controversial pick is because it has this dream sequence with a unicorn. Right. This is the most controversial thing.
Correct.
Because the whole discussion of the movie is around whether or not the main character is a replicant.
Correct.
And there's so much fan debate about this, and I think the general consensus is that he's not a replicant.
It's pretty divided.
You'd be surprised. And it makes no sense for him to be a replicant.
You'd be surprised because the director himself says he's a replicant.
I know.
So it's more divided, I think, than you think. And to me, it ruins the story because if he's not human, it's about a person rediscovering his humanity.
Sure.
Then there's no story there.
And I think that the final cut leaves enough ambiguity.
Sure.
To allow both interpretations to be true.
Absolutely, I agree.
And I think that's why it's better. I think that it has, again, it's all clean. It's all been streamlined.
The final cut is incredible because they went back and made the whole film more consistent. The color grading, even the backgrounds of certain shots are totally redone.
Yep. Visually speaking, it's been perfected.
Very consistent throughout. There's even a scene where Harrison Ford and this other character, the snake salesman, who he kind of roughs up and is asking where things are. is very poorly ADR'd.
Sure.
You know, there's a moment where neither of their lips are moving, but they're talking still.
Yeah.
And so they literally hired Ben Ford.
That's right.
Harrison Ford's son.
That's right.
To come in and mouth the lines. And they digitally removed his lips and put them on his dad's face. So that now it looks like he's saying what he's saying.
And it's in such a seamless way.
You can't even tell.
That I had no idea this even happened.
Right.
Before hearing about it later.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's incredibly impressive.
Incredible.
It's maybe one of the most extensive like recuts of a movie
for sure.
that I've ever heard of.
Yeah, Warner Brothers went all out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
They brought Ridley Scott back in. He did. He literally made every change he wanted to make.
Yeah.
I mean, they gave him the budget to do it, and it's incredible what he was able to achieve.
A true director's cut of the movie.
Yeah, I agree. So. Great pick. Let's jump to my second pick.
Yeah, what is your number two?
Which is going to be another Ridley Scott film. You know, Ridley Scott and Zack Snyder, I think, are the two guys with the most director's cut.
Sure.
Right? I think every film they've put out has a director's cut, almost.
Okay.
So my number two to pick is a Ridley film called Kingdom of Heaven.
This is a great pick. This one was on my list.
Is it really?
It was, yes.
Okay. Kingdom of Heaven is a epic film. You know?
It is.
It's a medieval film. It takes place in real history during the Crusades. Yep. Orlando Bloom's in it. Liam Neeson.
That's right.
Jeremy Irons. Just a fantastic film. Yep. Great cast. Really well shot.
Sprawling story.
Big story. And a lot of it was cut out for the theatrical cut.
Now, I've never seen the theatrical cut at all.
Have you not?
I've only seen the director's cut of this, and I can't imagine cutting anything out of it.
Yeah. A lot is cut out.
I mean,
a lot of character moments.
The theatrical cut's a lot shorter.
A lot shorter. At least 40, I think 45 minutes shorter.
Yeah.
It's a lot of character moments. It's a lot of character development. Some of the battle sequences are extended as well. So it's a lot that's changed. It's a lot of footage that is left on the floor in the theatrical version. This director's cut restores all of it. It helps enhance the entire film. The entire story is more impactful.
Yep.
And interesting and engaging. It's a must-see film. And the Blu-ray I have has a roadshow version, which has an intermission in the middle.
Oh, okay.
Because it's over 3 hours.
Very cool.
So, you know, if you wanted to, make a day of it, bring over the friends and watch it, have a little intermission, a little break, bathroom break, snack break.
For sure. For any fans of Lord of the Rings, again, you said this is a Ridley Scott movie, any of his movies, this is definitely a must-see. It's one I've only seen recently.
Yeah.
Kingdom of Heaven. Yeah. Very, very cool movie.
Great movie.
Super loved it.
All right, what's your number two?
My number two is Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition.
Okay, you took one of mine.
That's right.
But yeah, that's a great one.
Now, this one I consider a true director's cut.
Yeah.
Unlike his Justice League.
Okay.
Because this, again, Snyder has so many director's cuts, and talking about his director's cuts over again, it gets a little repetitive, but there's so much story added here. Yeah, and that's what to me makes this his greatest director's cut.
Clark's whole journey.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically totally missing.
The entire motivation of Clark Kent is totally cut out of the movie. Yeah. The whole courtroom drama subplot is totally cut out.
That's exactly right.
I mean, massive, hugely important half of the movie.
Yeah.
Is really it's missing a lot of substance.
It's a half hour of footage.
Yeah.
And it's pretty essential.
For sure.
So yeah, this did not get well received when it came out in theaters.
No.
Because they're just huge chunks of the movie missing. And it just makes a whole lot less sense.
It's true.
So
it's true.
Yeah, the 3 hour cut of BVS.
Yes, the Ultimate Edition. It truly makes you, because everyone always talks about the Martha moment as if it's the worst thing in cinema.
Right.
But if you watch the Ultimate Cut and you really you understand Clark,
right,
and you understand Man of Steel,
that
moment really brings Batman's arc full circle and gives Clark his resolution to his arc in that story.
Yep, absolutely.
So BVS Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition is my number 2 pick. What's your number 3?
My number 3 pick is going to be a film I just saw recently.
Okay.
Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid.
Oh boy.
The 50th anniversary edition.
Oh.
So this film was directed by Sam Peckinpah. Great filmmaker, did The Wild Bunch. A lot of great westerns I like. A lot of great films. And he had his final preview. This film, the Criterion edition I just got, has 3 versions.
Okay.
One is the final preview cut, which is like the last version he gave to the studio.
Right.
Before they literally kicked him off the film
and
said, "You're done. We're gonna cut the movie now." And so it's cool to see that. You can see his like final work.
Right.
Then you have the theatrical cut.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have this 50th anniversary cut. So Sam Peckinpah passed away, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But the writer and editor of the film are both still alive.
Okay.
And they were commissioned by Criterion to put together the 50th anniversary edition, which would be, what do you think he would have done?
Yeah.
After that final preview cut he gave the studio, what other changes would he have made? What's kind of the best version of the film that you can come up with?
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting.
And yeah, it's a very unique situation.
Yeah.
It's very rare that this happens.
For sure.
So it's by far the best cut of the film. I've seen all 3 versions.
Okay.
The final preview cut I think is fantastic. This just enhances it.
Yeah.
This makes it better. It tightens it up a little bit.
Good.
Also, Criterion went all out on the restoration of the 50th anniversary edition, so it just looks great.
Yep.
Full 4K scan of the film negatives and everything. It has a totally different opening.
Okay.
Which is fantastic.
Really?
And it really sets the stage for like, here's the story we're going to tell,
I'm glad. I'm glad because movies like this that have these director's cuts that are so much later, so much after the fact.
Right. Yeah.
Really, and especially when they are the ultimate way to see the movie.
Yeah. 100%.
It makes me glad when it's like a movie I haven't seen.
Yes.
It's like, oh, now I can watch.
You can watch the best version.
The best version of it
exactly.
right off the bat, which is really cool.
It is.
So that's great.
But it's great that they include the other versions too, so you can compare and you can go,
right.
Oh, I see why they maybe made that choice, but this choice is better.
Yes. Yes, for sure.
All right, go on to your number 3.
My number 3 is Leon the Professional.
Ooh, great pick.
The extended cut of Leon.
Yeah, I had that one on my list. Too.
This is a terrific film. I just saw recently again. The theatrical cut of the movie is just a more safe for audience version of the movie, and this one's much more gritty and uncomfortable, rightfully uncomfortable.
Sure, yeah.
And it just, to me, I've only seen, again, this is another one I've only seen the director's cut of.
Okay.
I can't imagine the movie without it.
Yeah.
The things I've heard that they've cut out of the movie,
yeah,
I can't imagine that stuff being absent because it would take so much away from
it's all
the emotional stakes.
Yeah, it's all story and character.
The emotional stakes of the story. This is a story about a hitman who gets in the situation where he has to take on this little girl, played by Natalie Portman when she was like 12.
Exactly.
And yeah, it's just their lives and their adventure that they go on.
Yeah.
It's a very gritty, character dramatic, violent, very like grounded movie.
Right.
And again, those emotional stakes are just not there if you don't have those scenes that were cut.
I agree.
So definitely, this is my number 3 pick.
Great choice. Great film. Definitely has a superior extended cut that I enjoy greatly. All right, moving on to my number 4.
Yes, to be clear, we're including not only director's cut specifically,
extended cut,
but also extended,
and in most cases, the extended cut is the preferred director's cut.
Sure, typically,
yeah.
Unless it's the Iron Giant Signature Edition, in which case you're forced to add an additional scene.
Right. Hint: it's not on either of our lists.
That's right.
All right, so I'm gonna go with, I'm gonna stay in the DC world with my Zack Snyder Justice League pick and go with Superman 2: The Richard Donner Cut.
Ooh, this is a good one. This was my number 5.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was about to talk about it.
Well, Superman 2 was another one of these films where it's kind of funny.
Now,
the director was pulled off the film because he went over time, over budget, and they were trying to shoot Superman 1 and 2 back to back. They were shooting them simultaneously for a long time.
Right.
Went over schedule, over budget. The producer said, you know what, forget the second film, finish the first film. Richard Donner finished it. They kicked him off, brought in Richard Lester.
The other Richard. The lesser of our Richards.
The Lester cut. And Lester's vision was so different It was much more comedic, just lighter in tone, sillier, a lot more gags.
This is another example where, because Superman 2, the Donner cut, was made much after the fact.
2006.
2006.
This movie came out in 1980. So it took a long time for us to finally see Donner's full vision.
And by the time that came around, this was the only version I've ever seen to date.
Oh, really?
I haven't seen the theatrical cut of Superman 2.
Okay. We might have to have a double feature. Watch them back to back. Because they're fun.
I don't want to watch worse versions of movies.
Yeah, I get it. But it's fun to see, like, all the changes that were made. And this is an interesting situation because Donner didn't get to shoot everything he wanted to shoot. So he had to use some of Richard Lester's footage in his cut.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting situation. They added, several things with digital effects.
Okay.
Which I don't think stand out too much, but you can kind of tell, like, oh, that's clearly,
It's definitely not a Lucas special edition situation.
No, that's a whole
where the special effects are
very
jarring and obvious.
Right. But this just restores his final vision. It feels much more consistent with the first Superman film. Mm-hmm. Great character moments. I get people don't care for the ending because he didn't get to shoot his ending. He just kind of reused the ending from Superman 1. Mm-hmm. But I think it works. Especially if you look at these as part 1 and part 2.
Yeah.
Which is kind of how I look at these first two Superman movies. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, huge fan of the Donner cut. Donner, he's one of my favorite directors. And that first Superman movie still stands high above all the rest of the comic book films, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad we finally got to see this version of the film that's closer, at least. It's not exactly what he would have done if he had the opportunity to finish it in 1980.
Yeah.
But it's as close as we're going to get. And it's a really good sequel.
Mm-hmm.
Really good superhero
It is truly,
sequel film.
Yeah.
And that made my number 4. Carson, we're on to your number 4 now.
I feel like I have seen Superman 2 more than Superman 1.
Have you really?
When I think of Reeves Superman, I think of him fighting Zod and the whole,
Sure.
The whole situation.
And one of my favorite moments of this Superman 2 cut is the way Lois discovers Clark is Superman.
For sure.
They actually had to use test footage.
Oh, okay.
So it's they look a little different. Like his hair's a little different and but it totally works. The scene is so good.
Yeah, it does.
And I just think it's a great scene.
Awesome.
So,
brilliant.
All right, that's mine. What's your next
Great pick. My number 4 is Brazil, the director's cut.
Oh, great.
Brazil is a phenomenal movie, and I love because I watched a lot of behind the scenes when I was able to borrow this from you. Mm-hmm. There's a featurette where they're talking to the cast and crew about Brazil, about making the movie and everything. And at the very end, they ask them, why is the movie called Brazil, and what is this movie even about?
Right.
And at the end, no one can give a straight answer. Everyone is a little bit confused and kind of on different pages.
Right.
Which is amazing because of how well the movie works.
Yeah, that's true.
It's kind of a dystopian future story.
Yep.
And it's really hard to explain.
Yes.
But the main differences between the cuts, of which there are 3.
Oh, wow.
There's the theatrical cut.
Okay.
Which, the theatrical cut, I'm trying to make sure I get this right, because the director's cut has dream sequences.
Right.
And it has its ending, which is it has a very unique ending.
Right. Sure.
Which we don't want to spoil.
Yeah.
Because it's an amazing ending.
Right.
And the other 2 cuts, the theatrical and I think the TV cut.
Oh, you're right.
Have no dreams.
Right.
And a totally reshot, totally redone ending.
Right.
That's completely different.
Yeah.
And far worse.
Yeah. Sure.
Kind of undermines the whole point of the film, actually.
Yeah. Right.
So the director's cut of Brazil, it's one of those ones where, like, once you know about it, just watch the director's cut. The other ones aren't even worth it.
Sure.
So, Brazil, it's definitely one that benefits from, because it's such a singular vision of a movie.
The thing I was about to say. Gilliam has such a unique mind.
Yeah, for sure.
And the way he tells stories. So, to take that away and rework it, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. So, excellent choice.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, I'm jumping into the Marvel realm. And I'm going to take X-Men Days of Future Past, the Road Cut.
Okay, good pick. This one barely didn't make my list.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, because I think...
Just because I don't love Days of Future Past as a movie. And I think even the Rogue Cut doesn't really fix it.
Okay. Me. To me, the Rogue Cut fixes all my problems. Pretty much. I mean, really.
Okay.
This movie's epic. It's big. It's got a huge cast.
Mm-hmm.
It's,
two huge casts.
Yeah, the old cast and the new cast together. And I felt like the theatrical cut really shortchanged the future cast.
Okay.
I think that's the right choice because this is a sequel to First Class. I think
for sure.
I think that's how it should be viewed.
Definitely.
Even though it starts in the future, which is another thing I would change. But there's a couple other things I would change about the movie.
Sure.
I wish I could have my cut.
Of course.
The Cam cut.
Well, that's a whole other discussion of fan cuts of movies, right. Of which there are endless amounts.
Of course.
Some of which I'm really interested to see.
Yeah.
People have cut the Obi-Wan Kenobi series into a movie.
Right. Yeah,
and they've done cool. Other different cuts of movies. So.
But the Rogue Cut, to me, it adds in this whole subplot with Rogue, as the title suggests.
Yeah.
Anna Paquin back as Rogue.
Which is great because she's like the central figure in the first three X-Men
Hugely
movies.
important character
Yeah.
in the first three X-Men. And it's not only her, it's her, and she's being rescued by Iceman, who they have a strong connection.
Their relationship is like the heart of the three movies.
Then you also get Magneto and Professor X. Joining forces for the first time.
That's right.
And we've never seen Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen team up in any of these movies.
Yeah.
So this is sort of something that the fans have really wanted for a long time.
And it's more than that. It's a resolution to
exactly
what these movies have always been about.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And so seeing them team up to rescue her, it's a great action sequence. And the way they cut it in with young Magneto... basically turning his back on the X-Men.
That's right.
Going in and stealing his helmet and becoming Magneto again. So you have this juxtaposed Magneto scenes.
And his arcs. You see the beginning and end of his arc happen at the same time.
It's great. It's brilliantly edited. That whole sequence is just fantastic. They add in that, which is the largest chunk of the film that they add in. They also add in some extra scenes with Raven. Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique and James McAvoy as Professor X.
Yep.
Also her with Beast, Nicholas Hoult as Beast. They have a whole scene together too. So there's a lot added. Again, it's mostly character stuff, but this is one of the rare instances where it's a big action scene too.
Yeah.
That's really impressive.
Usually those expensive action scenes that studios want to keep in.
Yeah.
So surprising that it was all cut.
Absolutely. So this to me is by far the superior version of the film, and like I said, it fixes a lot of the problems that I have with the theatrical version.
Great.
So it's the only version I'll watch moving forward. But,
awesome.
That made my number 5. Have another Marvel movie that I want to put in, unless you take it.
I've got some Marvel movies too, but my number 5 is Little Shop of Horrors, the director's cut. This is the Frank Oz film.
Yes.
The Frank Oz musical.
The remake of the 1960s.
That's
Roger
right, 1960.
Corman,
yes.
Black and white.
Fantastic movie.
Comedy horror.
Right. But Little Shop of Horrors, Frank Oz's director's cut, is so fun. I just rewatched this like last night.
I still haven't watched it. I've heard about it.
It is so fun and the movie itself is just fun and vibrant and energetic and cool.
Right.
And it really strikes a tone that's like edgy.
Yes.
It's like a little too edgy for Muppets.
Right.
It's like just over that.
But it's a Muppet movie.
But it's a Frank Oz, vehicle. Right. So it's like it has a Muppet sensibility and sense of humor.
Sure.
But it's just it's able to do things you can't do in a Muppet movie.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So yes, I love the original Little Shop of Horrors cut. It's great. It gives everyone a nice happy ending.
Sure.
But the director's cut,
it's alternate ending.
It's so much better.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
It is so much better.
Yeah.
It's like Gremlins 2: The New Batch.
Oh, really?
It escalates to a level of awe.
Right.
That is just spectacular.
Okay, cool.
Some of the most amazing puppet effects I've ever seen.
Wow. Okay.
Just phenomenal.
Okay.
New ending.
Can't wait to watch it.
It changes the whole thing and it makes it all so much better.
Wow.
It makes it somehow more of a film noir and also more of like a action spectacle. Like it's kind
monster
of
movie.
It's kind of in the vein of a monster movie from the 60s.
Sure.
So yeah,
that's great. I can't wait to watch it.
The director's ending is It's so much better. So much better.
That's great. Excellent. Cool stuff. All right. Let's see here. I think
this is your number 6.
Number 6. I'm debating between a couple here.
Boy, which one am I going to take?
I don't know. I think I'm going to put Avatar.
Oh.
Avatar Extended Edition.
This is one I didn't even think about.
Yeah, this is a cut that, again, I think just elevates the film on every level.
Okay.
Because in Avatar, the theatrical cut,
Mm-hmm.
we meet Jake Sully in hypersleep, already on his way to Pandora.
With narration.
With opening narration
Yeah.
about, here's who I was, here's what I did. You know,
it's a fine introduction.
It's fine.
It's kind of like an
economical.
Aliens. It's kind of like an Aliens introduction.
A little bit. It's very economical. It gets it done.
Mm-hmm.
We get who this guy is. But
for a movie where we really need to like and relate to this character,
doesn't work.
It's a little weak.
It's very weak.
Yeah.
Especially when you see the extended cut and you know
right.
what they had.
Mm-hmm.
You had this and you didn't use it.
We see scenes that take place on Earth in the extended cut.
We see Earth.
To me, that alone makes it worth watching.
100%. Get to see what Earth is like.
Yeah.
Why did they leave Earth?
Right.
What's the big deal?
Yeah.
You get to see why.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mess.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's a terrific scene.
And it immediately endears you to the character of Jake Sully.
Yeah.
You love him immediately. You root for him. Mm-hmm. You like this guy.
You empathize with his
with
brother
his
and the relationship
story.
with... Yeah.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Big time. So that's added in. There's a couple of other little moments added throughout that aren't super significant, but just that opening.
Yeah.
There's the way they set the stage. I feel like, and I want to do a podcast. I've been wanting to do a podcast on this for a while. Opening scenes. Mm-hmm. How important an opening scene of a movie is.
Yeah.
It's really make or break, because if you don't grab an audience...
Beginnings and ends are the key.
100%. If you don't grab an audience up front, they're kind of just going to be like, they're going to check out eventually. Yeah. And so when you can have an opener that just grabs an audience and goes, wow, I like that character, or I like this world, or this is so intriguing and interesting. Yeah. That's what the scene does, 100%.
I think that's what makes M. Night Shyamalan such a great filmmaker. Yeah. He is so good at setup.
Totally.
He's amazing at setting up a story.
Yes.
And when he pays it off, especially early on, it's like, fantastic. It makes the whole story.
Connects big time.
So,
all right, what's your number 6?
My number 6. I'm going to go with Spider-Man 3, The Editor's Cut. Spider-Man 3, The Editor's Cut.
A lot of people don't know this exists.
I know. It's difficult to find.
It's only on one version of the Blu-ray set that you have. It's the only version
that you
can buy it
I think it might be.
I have it on the old Blu-ray set. It's not there. Sad.
Very sad.
Because it's way better.
It's far better. It's far better.
And the thing that's interesting about the editor's cut is it doesn't change a ton.
No.
It changes just enough to make you...
Just enough to let the story flow a lot cleaner.
Better.
And a lot nicer.
And it
adds one scene in particular. It adds a scene with Sandman.
Character scene. It's a small, intimate character scene with no
pivotal.
dialogue.
Right. No dialogue. Which is really impressive.
Yeah.
But it's so pivotal. To his relationship with Venom.
100%.
And his motivation for wanting to go after Spider-Man.
100%.
Without that scene...
He comes off as a thug.
It makes no sense why he's teaming up with Venom and going after Peter.
Because we've set up Sandman to be such a sympathetic character.
Yes.
And we totally relate to him. We get it.
He's not a bad person. He just had bad luck.
Exactly. He has a daughter he cares about.
He has an amazing scene where he constructs himself out of sand. That scene is like brilliant.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful scene. So you like the character. And then as the character goes on...
Yeah, and then there's one scene, and this is in the theatrical cut.
Right.
There's one scene where Venom shows up.
In an alley.
And says, you want to kill Spider-Man, and I want to kill Spider-Man. Right. Let's team up.
Right.
It's like a Morbius post-credit scene level crazy.
Right, yeah. It's true. It's bad.
In the place of that, we have this scene with Sandman and his daughter... Yeah. And he learns that...
Reconnecting with that storyline. Reconnecting. It's so important for that character in that moment to have that scene. Because it's him reconnecting with, why am I doing this? What is the reason I've done all this craziness?
Yeah.
And he kind of feels like, I've gone so far now. and she's still there. I still have a chance to save her and to be with her.
And he realizes that with Spider-Man after him, there's no way he can return.
Yeah.
So that's what tips him over the edge. Yeah. And then his ultimate resolution to that is perfect. It's terrific.
So perfect. And that scene where Spider-Man forgives him hits so much harder.
Oh, yeah.
Because we've had now this extra beat of this time to reconnect with him and his daughter. It's because in the theatrical cut, the only scene you have with the daughter is in the very beginning of the movie.
Yep.
And you kind of forget about it towards the end. They don't really bring it up again.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's a pivotal moment.
Yep.
It's an example of
and it's an
one scene.
What's interesting is this is an editor's cut. It's an editorial choice.
Yeah. I know. It's cool that they released this.
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming he probably called Sam Raimi maybe and said, "Hey, they asked me to do this cut for the Blu-ray." I'm guessing he approved it. I've never heard him talk about it. I'd love to hear someone ask him, "Have you seen the editor's cut of Spider-Man 3? Maybe he doesn't even know it exists. I don't know.
I don't know, yeah.
But it's a great cut. It's a great pick.
It is.
We're going to stay in the Marvel world.
Okay.
I'm going with Daredevil.
Good pick. This is another one on my list.
Director's cut radically changes this movie. This is another one where, like Batman v Superman, 30 minutes of footage.
Yeah.
An entire subplot was cut out of the theatrical release.
That's right.
And
there's a lot less courtroom stuff, isn't there, in the theatrical cut?
Theatrical cut has basically no courtroom stuff, which is sad because Matt Murdock's a lawyer.
Yeah,
it's like
sad about it.
An essential part of his character, And it's great because it's his client is Coolio.
Oh yeah,
who is a famous rapper from the '90s, and
basically playing himself.
Yeah, he's great in it, and it's this whole subplot with him trying to defend this guy, who's on trial, and you get to see
everyone just believes is a criminal.
Oh, of course, everyone believes. Yeah, he has to be a criminal. It's obvious he's a criminal, and Matt Murdock's like, no.
He's got those super senses.
No.
He knows he's not lying.
I gotta prove it.
He's got to prove it.
And it's great because you get more of him. You get more of Matt Murdock's character.
That's really what the whole movie's about.
100%. I agree. It's the thematic weight of it. It's so important.
It's about Daredevil learning to use his powers for good.
In ways that you don't have to just beat up guys.
Right. Exactly.
You can make a difference in other ways.
Yeah.
So it's vitally important to the character of Matt Murdock. You get more of him and Foggy, the great Jon Favreau.
That's right.
As Foggy Nelson.
Yes.
Who's great in this.
Pretty well cast as Foggy.
I think he's a great Foggy. Yeah. I really liked him in that role. So you get more of their relationship. It just adds so much to the story. And also the director's cut adds in a little bit more violence, a little bit more blood. So it's a little more hard-edged. It did get an R rating.
Yeah.
So it's a more of an edgy kind of... Really the movie that they wanted to make initially. When Ben Affleck signed on and the director signed on, they were like, we want to go for the Frank Miller, dark, Man Without Fear.
Sure. Yeah. It still has its share of issues. It still can't be in places.
Movie. It's not a perfect movie.
But the director's cut massively enhances it and makes it really a movie I want to return to.
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree completely. All right. You got number 7 now. What are you on there?
My number 7 is I Am Legend, the alternate ending cut.
Whoa. Interesting choice. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So you prefer this cut?
I do.
Wow.
I do.
Well, obviously the filmmakers do too, because they're making a sequel.
That's right.
And you can't make a sequel if you go with the theatrical version.
That's right.
So we might have a bit of a debate on this.
I know.
I actually think the theatrical cut's better. So give me your case. Make your case.
To me, the I Am Legend story is all about... It's all about how we make monsters. We make our own monsters. And yeah, I Am Legend is a terrific film, beginning to end. It's so well shot, so well acted. It's basically just Will Smith the whole movie.
Oh, it's his best performance ever.
It's pretty much just him. And again, most of the movies stays the same, and it's terrific. Yep. And I think both endings are pretty good.
Yeah,
but I prefer the alternate cut.
Okay.
Because it...
We should spoil it, because people won't know what we're talking about.
Yeah,
I think we have to kind of tell people.
It's difficult to talk about.
You can't talk about spoilers.
In the theatrical cut, he dies. He explodes himself.
He sacrifices himself.
Yes.
So that the young lady can get away.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
And so in the alternate cut, he does not die.
He does not
survives. He does not
survives.
sacrifice himself. He is able to...
He's able to communicate. He's
yes,
able to communicate with the Night Seekers.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So the Night Seekers have developed a primal Alpha Omega like system of hierarchy.
Sure.
They're still very like again primal creatures.
Yeah, 100%.
But they have a system
Right.
in place, and the Alpha is like been hunting him down this whole time, and it's because he has his mate.
Right.
That he's had in captivity and been experimenting on the whole movie.
Yeah.
So it totally changes the whole like motivation and totally flips the story on its head when you realize that these monsters have just been trying to like reclaim their own the whole time.
Right.
And to them,
The
Will
humans are the
Smith's character
monsters,
is like a crazy monster, like a legendary creature.
Yeah, sure.
That's why he is legend to these creatures. So he opens this level of communication with them, and instead of blowing himself up, it's the scene where he's carrying the mate
right
over to the Night Seekers.
Yeah.
And there's a level of mutual understanding, and they let him go. They let him survive. And it's like I wouldn't have done that.
Right.
Like Will Smith's character wouldn't have done that.
Right.
If they had kidnapped like his wife.
Exactly.
And had been holding her this whole time.
Right.
He wouldn't have
killed
done
them.
that.
Yeah.
It's like now they have a level of primal humanity that Will Smith has even lost.
Right.
And it's a learning moment.
Yeah.
And it kind of flips the whole story on its head.
Yeah.
In a way that I think really works.
Yeah. You made a great case. I might have to rewatch it because that's a great point you make about the characters and the themes of that movie. I'm kind of partial to heroic sacrifice.
Of course,
I think that's a great ending to any movie. That'll always get me. But it's a good case. It's a good pick. It's an outside the box pick. I didn't even really consider.
Okay.
But like I said,
it's also an ending that is more faithful to the book.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. Excited about the sequel. See what they do with that.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we're moving down now to my number 8, and this is where things get tricky because there's several that I really like that I think do enhance the movie. I think what I'm going to go with is Dances with Wolves extended cut.
Okay.
So, Dances with Wolves is Kevin Costner's big epic western, and it got a theatrical release, very successful theatrical release, but the extended edition adds in 43 minutes.
Really?
Of additional footage.
It's quite a lot.
It's quite a lot. And so this is one of those movies that you really sit with, I mean, it's well over 3 hours. I think it's close to 3.5. So it's one of those where it really puts you in the world more, I feel like, is what the longer cut here does. It really takes its time. It's, not at all a fast-paced... The theatrical cut's not fast-paced either, but this one is very much a slower-paced film that you kind of just get lost in the world of 1880s
right.
West America.
Yeah.
And with this one character, and it's, most of the movie is one character, the first probably hour, you're just with him, just out there in the wilderness. And
great.
Then, of course, the Native Americans come into the story, and you get this whole big kind of sweeping story. Kind of the film expands a lot as it goes on,
Right.
And so, the extended cut, a lot of great character moments, a lot of great shots of
that's a lot. That's a lot of additions.
It is a lot.
Yeah.
It is a lot. It's new stuff. Even in the opening, there's new stuff as far as how he got out there.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff, that character journey you get to see more of.
Very cool.
So I think it's definitely the superior version. I think Kevin Costner would say much the same.
It's great.
And so, that's definitely one that's worth checking out.
Good pick.
What do you got for number 8?
My number 8, going back to Snidey. With number 8.
Oh.
It's the Watchmen director's cut.
Absolutely.
I just watched this today.
Did you really?
Not for the first time. I had seen it before.
Oh, okay.
But I just rewatched it today.
Yeah. You know, I think this is one that I don't think I've ever seen the theatrical version.
Oh, really?
I don't think I have.
Oh, that's funny.
I can't remember.
The Watchmen director's cut, and I while I was watching it, I was looking up the differences between the two.
Right.
And it seems like to me the theatrical cut is just a lot less. It's a lot less gritty and a lot less violent.
Sure.
And it just has, again, it's a lot shorter.
Yep.
So it's just kind of everything's moving along quicker.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with the Watchmen story, if it doesn't have ultra violence and it doesn't feel like horrific and gritty, and you don't feel kind of like miserable and desensitized by the end of it, then it's kind of missing its point.
That's literally the point of the film.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So having all of that in there really hammers home what the movie is saying about heroism and about fate and destiny and nihilism and American society.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, Watchmen, the director's cut, definitely enhances what I think the movie's trying to say. Definitely. With the addition
Drives
of...
the point home.
Yeah. It's definitely more hard-hitting.
Yeah. It makes those themes a lot clearer to the audience.
And it makes you feel it.
It doesn't make you go, are they just making a super violent movie
because it's not even super violent. That's the problem.
Yeah.
It's the violence is kind of glorified.
Yes.
So it kind of takes away from the whole feeling you're supposed to have.
Right.
While you see these violent things happen, because it's kind of fun. And cool.
Yeah. Right.
To see these superheroes, beat up all these prisoners in a prison.
Right.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
So it's like when you watch the director's cut, it's more horrific and it's more you're more it's definitely more gratuitous and
you're more like ooh
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Rorschach becomes a much more twisted and sadistic character.
Definitely.
Than he does in the theatrical cut.
100%.
So yeah.
Excellent choice. Yes, you can never go wrong with Snyder's director's cuts because they're all better. They're all the better version of the movie. You know what I mean?
Right.
I've never watched one and gone, theatrical cut, I think I prefer that. Maybe the studios will learn one day.
Maybe
they will. Netflix is learning. They had the whole Rebel Moon thing. They were like, hey, you get to do a director's cut. We want a PG-13 one, but you get to do your director's cut too.
Netflix will do...
getting better.
Netflix, you're greenlit.
Yeah.
They'll do anything.
Anything to get those watch hours.
That's right.
Get those views. All right. Let's move along.
Yeah, what's your number 9?
It's going to be another Snyder.
Oh boy, this is becoming the Snyder. I tried to do as few Snyder ones as I could.
I have to.
I knew you'd have a lot.
He's the best, and his director's cuts are the best. It's Sucker Punch.
Ooh, this is a good pick.
It's Sucker Punch, and the Sucker Punch
extended edition
is about 17 minutes of additional footage, including a completely different ending. The ending is the most vitally important part here. Sucker Punch is one of the most misunderstood movies ever made.
That's for sure.
It's one that I was actually just listening to a interview with him on the Real Blend podcast. Our friends over there are doing an interview with him, and he's talking about are there any other movies that you want to make a director's cut for that you've done, or you have an alternate version of that you want us to see? He said Sucker Punch, because the extended cut isn't the director's cut. It's kind of the longer version of the movie that they...
It's a longer version of the theatrical cut.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. But he wants to really go in and make his, big, epic 3-hour director's cut. So, but the extended cut is far superior because, just like you're saying with Watchmen, it's adding character moments, it's adding layers, it's adding depth, it's adding to the violence, it's adding to all those elements that make this fantastical world work, as a story. And again, the ending, which again we'll spoil here, I guess, minor spoilers. What happens to Baby Doll at the end of the film, in the extended cut, is the best conclusion of that story. you can't really have... What they try to do with the theatrical cut is have their cake and eat it too, that whole idea of
the happy Hollywood ending.
Exactly, and that's not at all what
now
the intention was.
The happy Hollywood ending works in a lot of movies.
Of course, absolutely,
works in a lot of movies, but Not here.
But not here.
Some stories just do not call for it, and it's very awkward and inappropriate.
Extremely awkward. Extremely awkward. It just feels empty. It feels so empty when you watch the theatrical cut. Like, what did I just watch? What was the point of that? I don't get it. Like, it really doesn't even make sense when you watch that cut. So, if you watch the film, you have to watch the extended cut. It's the only version to watch. And I really hope he gets a full director's cut of this, because I think it could be even better.
That'd be great.
It could help make it even more intense. So.
That's one I really, again, didn't even think about, because it's one I'm so used to just watching the extended cut too.
Exactly.
It's probably my favorite Snyder movie too. Sucker Punch, I really
highly underrated.
Highly underrated.
What do you got at 9?
Okay, so before I go 9, I need everybody to look at these.
Okay.
Because I don't love my 9 pick.
Take a gander.
I don't love my 9 pick. I think I can find a better one up here.
Take a gander at what we got, and I'm sure you'll be able to find something.
Ooh, that's a better one already.
Yeah, there's several there. There's several there that could work. I've got a few. I'm still debating, because I've only got one pick left, so I'm trying to figure out what exactly I want to put.
I'm just going to do this one.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just going to do this one. And I'm going to cut my other one.
Okay.
Which was going to be Spider-Man 2.1.
Sure, yeah. That's a fun cut, but it's not, I wouldn't say it's superior.
It's not better.
It's not better.
That's the reason I didn't want to have it on here.
It's not the version I go to watch.
No.
All right, so what are you going with number 9?
My number 9, I'm going to pick Jurassic World Dominion.
Oh, yes.
The Jurassic World Dominion.
We did a big video on this when this came out.
Mm-hmm. I hated Jurassic World Dominion when it was released in theaters. I thought it was terrible, and I didn't get it.
Right.
Until I watched that extended cut.
Extended edition.
The extended edition of Jurassic World Dominion.
Which, by the way, is the director's cut.
Yeah.
Colin Trevorrow has come out and said, this is the version I wanted to release. The studio said no, so I had to cut out the opening. Is the biggest portion that they cut out, but other stuff too.
It's so much better. Because, to me, what this movie is about is the locusts. And I know everyone hates the locusts, but I love them.
Yeah.
Because it's about a Jurassic world. Not a dinosaur world, a Jurassic world. The opening takes place in the Jurassic period.
Yep.
And it's like, there's a lot more going on in the Jurassic period than just dinosaurs.
Sure.
And those other things probably would have been more of a threat to humanity than the T-Rex.
Right. T-Rex just looks cooler.
T-Rex looks a lot cooler, and it's probably more cinematic.
Definitely.
But I like that this movie is able to take a risk.
It takes a big risk.
And
I gotta give it props for
we're going to focus on something else other than just the dinosaurs.
Sure.
Dinosaurs are still a major part of the movie.
Big time, yeah.
Huge.
Yeah, sure.
Critical in every way.
Right.
But we're going to involve some other Jurassic period stuff.
Yeah.
And I really dug that. I thought that was a really cool choice. And I didn't get it at first.
Right.
Until we got that opening and we extended it. And another thing that's added is just scenes just go on longer.
Right, yeah, little extensions on the scenes.
They just have longer to breathe. And right where you know that, because we watched it pretty much back to back with the original version.
Right.
It was fresh in our minds when we saw it. And we remember when a scene was going to cut.
Yeah.
And it just kept going.
Yeah.
And they said like a line or two.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, that makes it so much better.
Yeah.
The one that really stands out.
On the scene.
Yeah, the one that really stands out is the campfire scene.
Oh yeah.
With Chris Pratt.
Scene. Yep.
Originally that scene is like fine. It's like one joke.
Whatever.
But with that extra beat, the little look, and then a line.
I like that.
It makes it great.
Talking about these, room to breathe, I think is a good term, because studios want quick, fast-paced action, in, out, done.
For a long time, that's exactly what they wanted.
And a lot of movies work better that way.
Sure.
A lot of movies are designed to be that way.
To be faster and more intense.
Exactly.
Now, you could consider the theatrical cut of A New Hope to be something of a director's cut, even though I would consider the special edition a director's cut.
Sure.
Because that movie was saved in the edit.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's an editor's cut.
For sure.
It's Marsha Lucas's cut.
Yeah.
But yeah, giving films that need it room to breathe, little extensions on scenes, an extra beat just to sit with a moment.
Yeah.
things like that, that I think studio executives, when they're watching a movie, for some reason they don't get it. They're like, no, we need this to be
their eyes on the clock. It almost seems like they don't like watching movies.
Well, it's right. They're all about money. And you got to think, if this is released in a theater,
right,
and it's running for 3 hours, we're not going to have enough time to get in that other showing before the theater closes.
It's true. It's a good point.
We want to get in as many showings as possible to sell as many tickets as possible, and it's just the antithesis of art. When you're only driven by that mentality of we have to make money. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work. And certain movies need a director's cut to really work as a story.
Totally.
All right, we're down to our final picks.
This is it. Final pick. What's your number 10?
This is tough. Because
you're probably not going to take mine because I think you don't like this version.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go with a film I've talked about on this podcast several times. I've defended it in our Defending Bad Movies podcast.
Okay.
It's a film called Cowboys and Aliens.
Cowboys and Aliens.
Cowboys and Aliens Extended Edition.
A movie I've only seen once.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you should rewatch it.
Okay.
This movie's tons of fun. This is right up my alley. I love these pulpy, silly ideas that are taken seriously.
Yeah.
And, like, they deliver a real movie.
And they have a star-studded cast.
Star-studded cast. Not only is Harrison Ford my favorite actor of all time in that.
Daniel Craig.
James Bond himself is in it.
That's right. Bond and Jones together at last.
Together again.
After
Last Crusade.
Yes.
He's worked with 2 Bonds.
That's right.
Sam Rockwell, one of our favorite actors.
Of course.
Ever. Really. Probably. I don't know where he ranks, but he's up there. Olivia Wilde. Noah Ringer. Who we know from Last Airbender as Aang.
That's right.
Who's great in this. Brucey's a great actor. Paul Dano.
Yeah.
You know, the Riddler.
Yep.
From The Batman. So many great actors.
So what is it about this extended cut that's so much better?
The extended cut, here's the thing. It's not a ton of additional footage. But what's added is, again, usually what's added with these little...
quality of life.
It's little character moments. Little character beats. Little lines of dialogue here and there. Just interspersed throughout. Just these little... It's probably maybe... It's not even 10 minutes longer, I don't think. I think it's maybe 7 minutes longer.
Yeah.
But they do also add a little bit more gore.
Oh, okay.
There is more blood, alien blood.
Alien blood.
When the cowboys are shooting them down, you get a little bit more blood splatter, and some blood splatter on the camera, which I always like.
Okay,
I always think that's fun.
Yeah,
when that happens.
That's cool.
Dirty up the frame. You know what I mean? So, I really like this. I think it enhances the supporting cast.
Okay.
Specifically Harrison Ford's character, Colonel Dollarhide.
Good.
He gets several little moments with other younger characters that really enhance who he is, his relationship with his son, why he's doing that, all that stuff is just brought to the forefront a little bit more.
Great.
Which I really like. So
awesome. Great pick.
I think
good number 10 pick.
It should be seen by all because it's just tons of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Cowboys and Aliens.
Great. Love it. Love it.
All right, what do you got for your final pick?
My final pick, my number 10, is Return of the King, the special extended version.
Wow. Not the extended edition, which you can get on Blu-ray anyway.
That's right. This is the special extended edition, which
is
over 4 hours.
Right. You can't see this anywhere except for where you saw it, which was in theaters.
Well, they have since released it.
Oh, they have?
It has since been released, I think on 4K, when they did their big 4K re-release when Rings of Power came out.
Sure.
They have the special extended version, but I was able to see this in the theater. And to me, that's what put this on the list.
Sure.
Because seeing this in a theater full of Lord of the Rings fans,
right,
where you're in there for 4 hours,
right, yeah,
and
epic.
Every time something new happens that we're not used to seeing, everyone goes, "Oh,
ooh,
you get to watch.
This? Ooh, what's this?"
You're like, "Oh,
that's new.
And we have a scene.
I haven't seen that before."
And they're like, "Ooh, this is cool.
That's cool."
It was fun. It was a fun experience.
I haven't done that before.
And I just love Middle Earth.
Yeah,
and just being in that world longer, it's just great.
Sure.
There's a scene with, there's so many scenes.
There's probably at least, what did you say, 20, 30 minutes more? From even the extended
From the extended
editions?
cut, yeah. It's a lot. Yeah. And most of it is Gandalf riding a horse. which is fine.
Sure.
It's fine.
Minas Tirith is a big place, folks.
It's very big. He goes down probably 5 flights of stairs with the horse. It's extensive.
I love it.
They use every bit of footage I think that they shot.
Sure.
So, but yeah, there's some great scenes with Pippin that he has before the battle.
Oh.
Where he kind of just is like talking, and we learn a little bit of history, and we just have a good time with him.
Okay.
And then there's a great scene with Aragorn where we talk to him and the lady. They kind of have a little conversation. Arwen.
Arwen or
Arwen. Arwen.
The elf or the human?
The lady, the blonde lady.
Oh, that's the human. That's Eowyn.
That's Eowyn. They have great names. Those Lord of the Rings ladies.
They're so different.
So special.
So unique.
So unique, their names. Anyways.
At least you can physically tell them apart.
Yes, they're very visually distinct, which is good. But it's terrific. I mean, for any Lord of the Rings fans, and I prefer this movie to have a longer version than any of the other two.
Okay.
Because I think Fellowship is just such a great setup, and the Two Towers is such a good fast-paced movie.
Sure.
That's moving.
Yeah.
It needs to move,
right.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
But for this finale, you know, you're holding nothing back. And it's
Right.
just like, this is it.
Go all out.
We've been building to this.
Leave it all
This
out
is
there.
our epic, you know. That's why I'm cool with this being
Sure.
the special extended edition.
Okay.
It's probably not the version I'll watch a lot.
Unless you have a couple days.
Unless I have a few days. Because I usually
if you're going to watch the trilogy, you need a whole day. Especially if you watch the extended
a full
edition.
24-hour day. Yeah.
Literally. It takes over 12 hours if you're watching all the super special, ultra extended editions.
That's right.
That's why... I'll say this. I know this is controversial.
I know,
I'm going to say this.
And I agree with you here.
I don't like the extended editions. To me, Lord of the Rings, the theatrical cuts are so perfect.
Mm-hmm.
To add a single moment, to take away a single moment, ruins the film.
And it's usually in service of the book reference.
It's in service of the fans.
Yeah.
The fans want more, give them more.
And that's what this is. That's, in all honesty, that's exactly what this is.
Sure.
But it's just fun enough, and I had just a good enough experience to put it on the
experience
list.
I totally get.
Yeah.
And if you're a huge fan of the books, and you've read all the books, and you're just steeped in the lore, and you want every detail wrung out of this franchise, go ahead. That's fine.
If hearing about how Pippin got his armor and who wore his armor before him really enhances the movie for you,
sure.
Power to you.
Go right ahead. I for me, the extended cuts, they're already 3 hours each.
Mm-hmm.
That's plenty of time for me.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge fan of these movies. I really like these movies. The characters are great. They're great stories. They're very thematic and rich. World building. All of it is great. Mm-hmm. They're masterpieces. You know, truly.
Yeah, they're phenomenal.
I just really think extending them out another hour each is just too much. There comes a point where you just have to say enough is enough.
Yeah.
And but look, people say that about Zack Snyder's Justice League. I get it. 4 hours.
I actually agree.
For some people, that's excruciating to sit through a 4-hour Justice League movie. And for me, I could do it all day. I'm about to put it on right now.
Yeah, I actually agree that I think Snyder's Justice League is a little too long. I think that
most people do.
There are plenty of things that could have been cut, but
sure, I'm not disagreeing with that.
Yeah.
I'm saying there could have been a shorter cut.
Sure.
I'm saying we have this or Justice League, so I'm going to take this.
Of course, yeah. It's far
and
preferable.
what's smart about what he did,
break it up into chapters. Yeah,
4 chapters, and so you can watch it that way, and it works really well that way too. So, anyways, we could go.
These are all great experiences, in my opinion.
Yep.
These are the best ways to watch all these movies.
100%. If you're going to watch any of these movies we mentioned,
and
this is the way to
if you've
watch
seen any of these before and had mixed feelings about them, check out the director's or extended cuts.
It could totally change it for you.
A lot of these movies are completely different.
Right, and some of these, they're not adding half an hour.
Yeah.
To every one of these movies. Some of it's just a little 5-10 minutes.
Jurassic World Dominion adds I think
maybe 10 or 15
5
minutes.
or 10 minutes.
At the most.
Yeah, very not much.
So, but that can radically change a movie when you're experiencing it.
Yeah.
On the screen. So check them out. Let us know what you think. We're going to be doing all kinds of videos this week. All kinds of new movies coming out. We're doing reactions all the time.
That's right.
Blu-ray reviews, 4K reviews. Obviously, the physical media collection is quite extensive.
That's right.
So keep coming back to the channel. Check it out. Make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified of all our videos. Thank you, Carson.
Yes, thanks for taking me.
And we'll see you next time right here on
The Real World.